no action can be taken in any court of law to declare a law null and void, because Article 16 of our Constitution declares that all existing law, written or unwritten, will be valid and operative despite or notwithstanding any inconsistency. Now, just to give you a little example, Article 80, Sub-Article 3, places an embargo on it, a total embargo, on any court to scrutinize the law. That is why our archaic Army Act, our archaic Navy Act, and perhaps our archaic Air Force Act cannot be challenged. If you read it, it's pretty old. That's what the British left us with. And we have not done a thing about it, and it still remains to be unchallenged, unamended law. Now, so because of the total ban the Constitution brings about. Now, that being the case, now I could probably, as a matter of history, you will recall, Mr. Felix Das Bandaranaike actually tried to shift this away, and he said, well, Parliament is supreme, and whatever Parliament does, you will remember, sir, long years ago, and I think I got a quote from him, and he said, we are trying to reject the theory of separation of powers. He tried that was a very long shot, I thought, to reject the theory of separation of powers. We are trying to say that nobody should be higher than the elected representatives of the people. Mercifully, that never actually became a reality. Nor should any person not elected by the people have the right to throw out the decision of the people. Now, he used this very the hypothesis of the people, the hypothetical argument that the people are supreme, and therefore whatever people said through their representatives was gospel truth, and that was right. And therefore he said that whatever Parliament does should not be, that Parliament could never be wrong. Now, so that's one aspect of it. Is it time that we were permitted to review legislation even after it has passed the test of a speaker's assent or a speaker's seal? Finally, the right to life. Now you might ask me, what's the AG talking about? Now, though the right to life has not been specifically been provided for in the Constitution, our Supreme Court has declared that it is inherently protected. It is inherently protected by the other rights that have been enshrined as a fundamental right. But both internationally and at domestic forums, there has been demands that the Constitution must expressly provide for the right to life. Now, if that is the case, should we also declare that there will be no death penalty in the country, given the fact that no person has been executed? There has been a moratorium on the death penalty since 1975. And in 2008, 7 and 8, Sri Lanka voted the United Nations in favor of resolutions calling for a moratorium on executions as a step towards the ultimate abolition of the death penalty. So therefore, should we then visit this issue of incorporating in our Constitution a definite, specific right provision with a right to life? Now, finally, can I just finally say this? You would be happy to know that we are visiting an amendment to the criminal procedure whereby we are considering, I'm careful to use this word, because this piece of legislation might well get shut down perhaps in mid-air. We are trying to depart from the age-old principle where you probably know that a statement made to a police officer under our present law is inadmissible. You can tell a police officer that you murdered someone and there's nothing he can do about it. That's our law. And that's what the British left us with. But the British jettisoned that 30 years ago. Yeah. But they didn't tell us that. So we go along, we happily chug along with this piece of legislation, and many criminals have actually got away from that. Quite apart from that, there's another very serious repercussion as a result of a statement, 2 minutes, sir, statement being made to a police officer not being made admissible. In the hands of an over-enthusiastic police officer, even not only in this country but even in Britain, the police have a tendency to use all kinds of other methods to elicit information. And those are not methods that can be acceptable in law. Now, that can be avoided if I admit a statement made to a police officer. And that is what we are considering at the moment. Whether we should admit statements made to a police officer as evidence. I'm sure the government will join issue with me on this. But by and large, that is something that we are looking at. But let me tell you, the statement that is made to a police officer, if it's going to be made admissible, we will permit it to be made in the presence of an attorney at law, so that no coercive methods can be adopted by the police in the eliciting of that material. Now that's something that we are changing, and that constitutional provision is something that actually has to be adopted along with the Constitution, and that's something I say is really worthy of thought. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have done, and Dr. Amulgama actually is giving me some very hard looks actually. But having said that, may I say this in the final analysis? We can come. I come back to the point at which I started. Constitutions, you can change them around, amend them, do whatever you like with them. But until such time, people give life to something that they really want. Are we going to play around with constitutions? Is that a change in a constitution tomorrow, I ask? Will it change our lives tomorrow? Is it going to be a better Sri Lanka? Are we accommodating our Tamil brethren? Are we ready for that? Are we willing to make them feel that they belong to us? Are we going to, in the redevelopment phase, in the reconciliation phase, are we genuinely committed to it? You can write constitutions till perhaps as long as you like with the best of constitutional lawyers. But many a constitution has failed because those constitutions never came from within the hearts of people. So in my final analysis, I would say thank you very much for permitting me the indulgence of speaking to you this afternoon. But having said that, may I also, to you I say, and because you are special, you have done a great job for this country. And I think each one of us perhaps should be thankful to you for generations to come. But having said that, remember that you have another role to play. And that is to ensure that all our peoples, irrespective of ethnicity, irrespective of religious division, irrespective of who they are and what they are entitled to live in this country in dignity as equals. And that my simple question to you is, think about it. Do you really need constitutional change or change in each one of our hearts? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mohan. I think all of us have been very fortunate. We've had two excellent presentations. I don't think we should go into an analysis of that at this stage. There's enough time after questions we can go into that. Thank you, Gomin, and thank you, Mohan.